Here's what no one tells you about the men who can't forget you. It's not because you're the most beautiful woman he's ever met. It's not because you said all the right things or played your cards perfectly. The women men become obsessed with, the ones they think about years later, the ones they compare everyone else to, they all do something most women never even realize they're doing. They press buttons inside his mind that he didn't know existed. Every man carries four emotional triggers buried so deep in his psychology that he can't see them himself. And when you activate them, not through games or manipulation, but through understanding, something shifts in him. He starts checking his phone, hoping it's you. He brings you up in conversations with his friends. He finds himself planning his week around the chance to see you. He catches himself staring at nothing, replaying something you said, trying to figure out why he can't stop thinking about it. And here's the strangest part. He won't understand why. He'll tell himself it doesn't make sense. You might not even be his usual type. You might not fit what he thought he wanted. But once these switches flip inside him, once you've touched something deeper than attraction, he's hooked. You live in the back of his mind, rent-free. And the more he tries to logic his way out of it, the deeper in he gets. Now, before you think this sounds like some kind of trick or mind game, let me be clear. This isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's not about playing hard to get or withholding affection to keep him guessing. This is about understanding how men actually fall in love, not how we think they should. Because most relationship advice gets it backwards. It tells you to be more available, more accommodating, more perfect. But the truth is, men don't fall for perfect. They fall for specific. For the woman who makes them feel something they can't put into words, something they've never felt before and can't find anywhere else. That feeling follows patterns, invisible ones that most people never learn because they're too busy counting hours between texts or wondering if they came on too strong. But when you understand these patterns, when you can see what's actually happening beneath the surface, you stop feeling confused. You stop second-guessing yourself. You start to see that attraction isn't random luck. It's rhythm. It's chemistry meeting the right emotional frequency. And the first frequency, the one that makes everything else possible, is what I call the present-absent rhythm. Most women think being present means being available, always responding quickly, always making time, always showing up with a smile and enthusiasm. Those things are nice, but that's not what keeps a man thinking about you. Real presence is something entirely different. It's being completely there when you're with him and completely gone when you're not. Think about it this way. Every man is unconsciously asking two questions about you from the very beginning. First, when she's with me, is she really with me, or is she half somewhere else, checking her phone, thinking about other things, already planning what comes next? Second, does she need me or does she want me? Is this moment happening because she has nothing better to do or because she genuinely chose to be here? Most women get one of these right, but completely miss the other. Some women are always available. They cancel plans if he's free. They text back immediately. They rearrange their entire life around his schedule. At first, he might like it. It feels easy. Comfortable, but something happens over time. He stops thinking about you when you're not around, because why would he? You're always going to be there. There's no mystery, no longing, no space for his mind to wander back to you on its own. Your presence becomes background noise. Nice to have, but not exciting, not something he craves. Then there are women on the opposite end. They're busy, independent, always doing something. But when they're finally with him, they're still half distracted, still checking messages, still bringing up other plans or other people, and he can feel it. He feels like he's competing for your attention, even when he already has it, like he's just another item on your to-do list. Neither of these works, because both are missing half of what creates lasting attraction in his mind. But when you understand how to be fully present in the moment and fully independent outside of it, everything changes. When you're with him, your phone stays in your bag. Your attention doesn't drift. You're not thinking about what you need to do later or what someone else is doing. You ask him questions that go deeper than surface level small talk. You notice things. The way his voice changes when he talks about something he cares about. The little expressions that cross his face. You make him feel like, in this moment, he's the most interesting person in your world. But when you're not together, you're not performing availability. You're not texting him constant updates about your day. You're not checking in every few hours to make sure he's still interested. You have your own life, your own plans, your own world that doesn't need him to make it complete, and he can feel that in your energy. This combination does something powerful to his brain. It creates what psychologists call intermittent reward, but in a natural, authentic way. You're not playing games. You're not calculating how long to wait before texting back. You're simply living a full life and allowing him to be part of it, not the center of it. When you're with him, it's intense, focused, real. When you're not, he feels your absence. Not because you're ignoring him, but because your presence actually meant something. It had weight. It wasn't just filler time. And that gap between your presence and absence, that space where he can't quite reach you, is where his mind starts working. That's where he starts thinking about you, wondering what you're doing, replaying conversations, looking forward to the next time he gets to be in your orbit. Because here's what most women don't realize. Men don't chase what they already have. They chase what feels valuable. And value isn't created through constant availability. It's created through having something worth being available for. Your own interests, your own friendships, your own purpose. When you're not sitting around waiting for him to text, when you have genuine things filling your time that make you happy, he senses it. And it makes him want to earn his place in your life instead of assuming it's already guaranteed. This is the present-absent rhythm. You're not distant. You're not cold. You're not playing hard to get. You're simply showing up fully when you're there and living fully when you're not. That natural rhythm creates a pulse. A heartbeat in the connection that keeps him coming back. Not because you're unavailable, but because being with you feels different than being with anyone else. It feels like something he doesn't want to lose. And once that feeling starts, once he associates you with that rare combination of total presence and complete independence, you become unforgettable. You're not the girl who's always there. You're the girl he's always thinking about. That's the first button. The one that turns casual interest into constant thought. The second button is what I call emotional recognition. And this one might surprise you because it has nothing to do with how much you love him or how much you do for him. Here's the truth most women never hear. Men don't stay with the woman who loves them the most. They stay with the woman who sees them the most clearly. There's a massive difference between caring about someone and actually understanding them. Most women pour energy into showing affection, compliments, support, doing things for him, being there when he needs help, and all of that matters, but none of it creates the deep attachment that makes him feel like he can't lose you. What creates that is when you see past his surface and understand what's actually happening inside him. The things he doesn't say out loud, the burdens he carries quietly, the parts of himself he's not sure anyone notices. Every man walks through life performing confidence even when he's uncertain, performing strength even when he's tired, performing like he has everything figured out even when he's completely lost. Most people buy the performance. They see the mask and assume that's who he is. But when you have this skill, you see through it. Not in a way that makes him feel exposed or judged, in a way that makes him feel understood. You notice the small things, the way his shoulders tense when someone brings up a certain topic, the shift in his voice when he's stressed but pretending he's fine, the moment his smile doesn't quite reach his eyes. Instead of pushing him to talk about it or demanding that he open up, you simply acknowledge what you see. Small comments that show you're paying attention to more than his words. You seem tired today. Long week. Not interrogating, just seeing. That got to you, didn't it? Not judging, just recognizing. These tiny moments of recognition reach men in places nothing else does. Because most men spend their lives feeling like they have to translate themselves, like they have to explain what they're feeling, justify why they're feeling it, defend their internal experience. But when you can look at him and simply know without him having to say a word, something inside him relaxes. It's the feeling of being understood without having to work for it, of being seen without having to perform. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine came home after a brutal day. Nothing dramatic. Just one of those days where everything felt heavier than it should. He didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to process it out loud. He just wanted to sit in silence until the weight lifted. His girlfriend at the time kept asking what was wrong. She kept trying to fix it. She kept pushing him to open up and share his feelings, and every question made him shut down even more. Not because he didn't appreciate her caring, but because it felt like pressure. Like he was failing some test by not being emotionally available on command. A few months after that relationship ended, he met someone new. The same situation happened. Another bad day. He came home carrying that same emotional weight. But this woman did something different. She looked at him for a second, walked over, smiled gently, and said, "Rough day?" That was it. Then she sat beside him and simply stayed there. No pressure, no interrogation, no attempts to fix him, just quiet presence. About 10 minutes later, he started talking. Not because she demanded it, because she made it safe to. That single moment created a bond that went deeper than any conversation they'd had before. Because she understood something most people never learn. Men don't open up because you ask them to. They open up because they feel safe enough to. And safety isn't created through questions. It's created through recognition, through showing him that you see what he's not saying. And you're not going to punish him for it. That's emotional recognition. It's the ability to understand his unspoken language. To know that when he goes quiet, he isn't necessarily shutting you out. He's processing. When he needs space, he isn't always pulling away from you. He's trying to figure something out inside himself. When he seems distant, it isn't always about you. Instead of making his emotional patterns wrong, instead of requiring him to operate the way you do, you meet him where he is. You respect his rhythm. You give him room to be human without demanding explanations for every feeling. When you do this, when you truly see him and accept what you see, he begins to trust you in a way he doesn't trust most people. You become the one person he doesn't have to perform for, the one place where the mask can finally come off. And once a man experiences that with you, once he realizes he doesn't have to constantly explain himself, his attachment moves beyond attraction. You become necessary, not in a needy way, in a "you offer something I can't find anywhere else" kind of way. Because many people will care about him, but very few will actually understand him. That difference changes everything. It transforms surface attraction into deep emotional attachment, the kind that doesn't disappear after the excitement fades. The kind that makes him think about you during random moments of the day and realize how rare it is to feel truly understood. That's the second button, the one that turns attraction into attachment. The third button is what I call freedom within commitment. This is where many women unintentionally push men away without realizing it. Here's something important to understand. Men don't fear commitment itself. They fear what they believe commitment will cost them. They fear losing themselves, losing their independence, having to ask permission, being monitored, being questioned, feeling guilty for wanting time alone or spending time with friends. When a woman really likes a man, she often wants more. More time together, more communication, more involvement in every part of his life. And it usually comes from a genuine place. She wants closeness, connection, security. But to him, it can begin to feel like the walls are slowly closing in, like his freedom is being exchanged for the relationship. The moment a man starts believing that being with you means giving up parts of himself, something inside him begins pulling away, not because he doesn't care, but because caring is starting to feel like losing himself. When you understand this, you become different. You become the woman he actually wants to commit to. Because being with you doesn't feel like sacrifice, it feels like choice. You don't panic when he wants a night with his friends. You don't make him feel guilty for needing time alone. You don't demand constant updates every hour you're apart. You trust him, not because you're naive, but because you're secure. And that security changes everything. When you give a man space without making him fight for it, when you encourage his independence instead of treating it like a threat, he doesn't feel trapped. He feels free. Ironically, that freedom makes him want to choose you even more, over and over again. I've watched this pattern repeat itself over and over again. Women who try to hold on too tightly often end up pushing men away. Women who give space are the ones who are most often chosen. It sounds backward, but it isn't. Because men value what they choose, and they can't truly choose you if they feel like they don't have a choice. Freedom within commitment also means maintaining your own life, your own interests, your own friendships, your own ambitions, your own identity that exists independently of the relationship. When you remain a whole person instead of disappearing into the relationship, he doesn't see you as clingy or needy. He sees you as an equal, someone who is choosing to be with him from a place of desire, not desperation. And that makes all the difference because men don't want to be needed in a suffocating way. They want to be wanted. They want to be chosen by someone who has other options, other passions, other things that make them happy, but chooses them anyway. That choice feels earned. It feels meaningful. It feels worth protecting. When you create freedom within commitment, when the relationship feels expansive instead of restrictive, you become associated with possibility rather than limitation. He doesn't think of you as the person who took away his freedom. He thinks of you as the person who made him feel even more free. And once that association forms, once he realizes that being with you makes his life bigger instead of smaller, he doesn't want to lose it. He becomes attached, not because you're controlling him, but because being with you allows him to be fully committed while still being fully himself. That's the third button, the one that makes commitment feel like freedom instead of a cage. The fourth and final button is what I call the growth catalyst. This is the one that determines whether attraction slowly fades or deepens into something lasting. Here's something most people never talk about. Many men are deeply afraid of becoming stagnant, of waking up years later and realizing they stopped growing, of becoming the same person at 40 that they were at 30. The woman who inspires growth without demanding it becomes incredibly difficult to replace. Notice the word inspires, not demands. There's an enormous difference. Many people try to change their partners through criticism, pointing out flaws, suggesting improvements, explaining what they should do differently. Even when those intentions are good, it usually creates resistance. It makes him feel like he isn't good enough, like he's a project that needs fixing. But the women who genuinely inspire growth do something completely different. They don't focus on what's wrong. They notice what's right, and they celebrate it in ways that make him want to become even more of that person. Simple observations like, "I admire how you never give up when something is difficult. The way you handled that situation was incredibly mature. You're really good at making people feel heard." These aren't empty compliments. They're specific observations that show you're paying attention to his character, not just his actions. When you reflect back the best parts of who he is, he begins to see himself through your eyes. And naturally, he wants to live up to that version of himself. Not because you're forcing him, because you're showing him qualities he didn't fully recognize in himself. That's what it means to be a growth catalyst. You're not trying to fix him. You're not trying to coach him. You're not trying to become his parent. Your own life simply inspires growth. You're reading, learning, working toward your own goals, improving yourself because it matters to you. That energy is contagious. When you're genuinely committed to becoming better, not for him, but for yourself, he begins thinking about his own growth too. Not because you told him to, because your example naturally encourages it. He wants to become the kind of man who matches your energy, who grows beside you, who evolves with you. This isn't about competition. It isn't about keeping score. It's about two people refusing to become the same versions of themselves year after year, growing together, encouraging each other, helping each other become better. When a man experiences that kind of relationship, he doesn't want to lose it. Many people will accept him exactly as he is. But you're the one who believes in who he's becoming, the one who sees his potential even when he can't, the one who reflects his best self back to him. That's the fourth button, the one that creates lasting attachment, not just to who you are today, but to who the two of you become together. So what does all of this really come down to? These four buttons: the present-absent rhythm, emotional recognition, freedom within commitment, the growth catalyst. They're not manipulation techniques. They're not mind games. They're the invisible architecture of deep human connection. They're what separates the women men date from the women they never forget. And the beautiful part is that none of this requires pretending to be someone you're not. You don't have to fake confidence. You don't have to play hard to get. You don't have to memorize dating strategies. You simply have to understand what creates genuine attachment. Be fully present when you're together. Be fully independent when you're apart. See him clearly without forcing him to explain every emotion. Give him freedom instead of making commitment feel restrictive. Inspire growth by continually growing yourself. When those four qualities naturally come together, something changes. You stop worrying about whether he'll text back. You stop analyzing every conversation. You stop performing because you understand that the right man doesn't need to be convinced. He simply needs to meet the real you. The woman who's fully present but never desperate, who understands him without demanding constant explanations, who makes commitment feel like freedom, who inspires growth simply by the way she lives. When he experiences that, not through strategy, but through authentic connection, his interest doesn't just last, it deepens. Not in a toxic or obsessive way, but in the quiet realization that you're unlike anyone he's ever known, that what you bring into his life is rare, that losing you would mean losing something he can't easily replace. That's not manipulation. That's understanding human psychology and allowing authentic connection to grow. The kind that doesn't fade with time. The kind that becomes stronger year after year. Because love isn't luck, it's rhythm, it's understanding. It's showing up in ways that create trust, freedom, and growth. And now you know the four emotional buttons that make that possible.